My girlfriend pushed me off a balcony and broke my ribs, so I got her arrested and she did 3 years. She just got out early and moved in next door to finish what she started. When my girlfriend slapped me across the face for the first time, it hurt. A lot. But I thought it was just something all girlfriends did, so I just laughed it off and told her not to do it again. Because other than that, she was my dream girl. Cooked me homemade chicken Alfredo whenever I was sad. She was the first girl to ever get me flowers. And even 6 months into the relationship when I paid for our meals together, she's just as grateful as she was on our first date. Plus, it wasn't until 8 months into our relationship that a flip had switched. Because it was around this time that she found out her dad had been cheating on her mom. It started off small. She'd grab my phone when I got texts, just to check who it was. She'd get upset if I talked to my godmother about a book she wrote. "You don't need to smile that much when you talk to her," she'd say about the cashier at Target. Then came the accusations. If I was 5 minutes late from work, I was cheating. If I didn't answer her texts immediately, I was with another girl. She'd slap me playfully when other women walked by, but her nails would leave marks. When I mentioned it hurt, she'd cry about how I didn't understand what she was going through with her family falling apart. Then came the night where Stella pushed me off the balcony. Luckily, I lived on the first floor of my apartment building, so I was just left with 2 broken ribs and a dislocated shoulder. When I went to the hospital, I told all the nurses that I had just played too much basketball, and the other people in my life were already really suspicious of Stella, so I didn't tell them either. But no matter how much she cried to the doctors or posted about how proud she was of me, there was one woman who wasn't buying into her BS, and that woman was my stepmom. She showed up at my apartment the next day with groceries and her laptop. "I'm starting a YouTube channel," she announced. "Home organization and cleaning tips. Very Marie Kondo meets suburban mom." I thought she'd lost her mind. She was a tax attorney who could barely operate the TV remote. She sort of guilted me into being her co-host, using the "I pushed you out of me" card. And she set up cameras all around my apartment, the bathroom, the kitchen, even my bedroom. At the time, she claimed it was so our audience could get the full experience. The genius part? Stella thought it was pathetic. Some desperate stepmom trying to bond with me through a silly project. She'd mock the videos, call my stepmom cringe, but she never saw her as a threat, just another stupid woman in my life. During filming, my stepmom would forget to turn off her phone that was recording voice memos for content ideas. She'd schedule emergency reshoots whenever she noticed fresh bruises, making sure to get them on camera while pretending to film my hands organizing drawer dividers. I had no idea that the whole time she was just documenting everything. We were 3 weeks into our channel when Stella lost it. She saw a comment from a woman saying I had nice hands in our drawer organization video. The camera caught Stella attacking me with a kitchen knife, screaming about how I was just like her father and how she'd make sure no woman ever looked at me again. When I tried to escape, she cornered me, saying she'd tell everyone I abused her if I ever left. That's when my stepmom walked back in, claiming she'd forgotten her laptop charger. But she was live streaming to a cloud server the whole time. She'd even had her lawyer on standby. She tried to save face and told the camera that she was just having fun, but it was too late. We had won, all thanks to my stepmom. Fast forward to 6 months later, when we were sitting in court armed with undeniable evidence. The judge ruled that the videos were obtained without Stella's consent and therefore inadmissible as evidence. Stella's lawyer successfully argued that I had provoked her by emotionally cheating and that one isolated incident didn't constitute a pattern of abuse. She walked out of that courtroom with nothing but a warning, while I got a restraining order against me for harassment through recording. Go figure. And that's not even the worst part, because even though I had no desire to break Stella's restraining order, she did. And when I got home that day, I was introduced to my new neighbor, Stella Parkinson. I stood there in my hallway, groceries in hand, staring at Stella unpacking boxes right next door. My hands started shaking so bad I dropped the milk carton. It splattered across the floor, white liquid pooling around my feet. She turned around and gave me this sweet smile, like we were old friends catching up. "Welcome home, neighbor," she said in this sing-song voice that made my skin crawl. The landlord, Mr. Rodriguez, was helping her move a couch through the door. I asked him what was going on. He just shrugged and said she'd paid 6 months up front in cash. Later, I found out she'd been saving all the money from when I paid for everything during our relationship. My stepmom came by that evening to check on me. She took one look at my face and knew something was wrong. I told her about Stella moving in next door. She didn't say much, just nodded and started looking around my apartment like she was casing the place. The next few days were weird. My mail started going missing. Packages I ordered would show up as delivered but were nowhere to be found. I complained to the building management, but they said they couldn't do anything without proof. My stepmom showed up one morning with a toolbox and a Ring doorbell. She installed it without asking, saying it was for the YouTube channel. I didn't argue because honestly, I was starting to feel paranoid. About a week later, Stella started dating my coworker, Vincent. He worked in accounting. Nice guy, had no idea about our history. She brought him to the building barbecue that weekend. I tried to stay in my apartment, but my stepmom dragged me out, saying I couldn't let her control my life. At the barbecue, Stella acted terrified every time I walked by. She'd grab Vincent's arm and whisper something in his ear. He'd look at me with these suspicious eyes. I tried to talk to him once just to say hey, but Stella practically jumped behind him like I was some kind of monster. That night I found dead flowers stickers on my doormat. The Ring doorbell didn't catch anything because someone had spray painted over the lens. I cleaned it off and found more dead flowers the next night and the next, always placed right after the camera was blocked. My stepmom started staying over more often. She said it was for YouTube content, but I knew she was worried. We'd film organizing videos during the day, and she'd randomly check the doorbell footage on her phone. Vincent confronted me at work the following Monday. He cornered me in the break room and told me to stop harassing Stella. I tried to explain, but he wasn't having it. She'd told him all about our relationship, her version anyway, how I was controlling and jealous and couldn't handle the breakup. I asked him to just look at the doorbell footage from 3 a.m. last Tuesday. My car had been keyed and the camera caught everything. He watched the video on my phone, saw Stella clear as day dragging her keys along my Honda. Then he handed my phone back and said it was obviously deep fake technology. Said I was sick for trying to frame her like that. That's when things got really bad. Anonymous noise complaints started rolling in. I'd get notices slipped under my door about loud music at 2 a.m. when I was dead asleep. 3 complaints and you're out. That was the building policy. I already had 2. Stella started helping our elderly neighbor Mrs. Chen with her groceries. Sweet old lady, lived alone, loved having someone to talk to. Stella would spend hours there, and slowly I noticed Mrs. Chen stopped saying hi to me in the hallway. Other neighbors started avoiding me too. The guy from 3B used to chat about basketball. Now he'd just nod and walk faster. Even the maintenance guy started acting cold. My stepmom noticed I was getting isolated. She'd come over with her camera equipment and we'd film, but I could tell she was really just checking on me. During one visit, she mentioned my Wi-Fi kept cutting out. My phone would lose signal too, always around the same times. Usually when Stella was visiting Mrs. Chen next door. Mrs. Chen's grandson Casey started visiting on weekends. Computer science major at the local college, smart kid. He'd help his grandma with tech stuff. One day he knocked on my door, looking confused. He asked if I'd been having internet problems. When I said yes, he told me he'd detected someone using a signal jammer in the building. The signal was strongest when Stella visited his grandma. He thought it was weird and wanted to know if I knew anything about it. I told him everything, the whole twisted story from beginning to end. He listened quietly, nodding occasionally, and when I finished, he just said he'd look into it more. He seemed genuinely concerned, which was refreshing after weeks of people treating me like I was the problem. Casey helped me set up a hidden camera system that uploaded straight to the cloud. Nothing fancy, just some small cameras he had from a school project. We spent hours figuring out the best angles, testing different positions to make sure we'd catch everything clearly. The cameras were tiny, barely noticeable unless you knew exactly where to look. We put them in spots where they'd catch my front door and the hallway, hidden behind picture frames and tucked into the corners where the walls met the ceiling. Casey made sure they'd keep recording even if the Wi-Fi got jammed, setting up a backup system that would store footage locally if the connection dropped. 2 days later, the cameras caught Stella picking my lock at 4 a.m. The footage was crystal clear, her face illuminated by the hallway's emergency lighting as she worked on my door with what looked like a professional lock-picking set. She moved with practiced ease, like she'd done this before. She went straight for the air vents in my living room, not even pausing to look around. I watched the footage with Casey and my stepmom, and we saw her stuffing something wrapped in plastic into the vent before leaving. The whole thing took less than 10 minutes. My stepmom wanted to check immediately, but Casey said we should wait and see what happened next. He was right. We needed to see her whole plan play out. Sure enough, the next morning I got a knock on my door. 2 police officers standing there, a tall woman with sergeant stripes and a younger male officer who looked fresh out of the academy. They were polite but firm, saying they'd received an anonymous tip about illegal substances in my apartment. They had a warrant and everything, official paperwork with a judge's signature. My hands were shaking as I read it. My stepmom showed up right as they were about to search the vents. She must have broken several traffic laws getting there so fast. She had her laptop with all the footage ready to go, already queued up to the relevant timestamps. The officers watched Stella breaking in and planting whatever was in those vents. The sergeant's expression changed from professional skepticism to genuine concern as she watched. They still had to check. Found a bag of pills I'd never seen before, little blue tablets in a clear plastic baggie. But with the video evidence showing Stella planting them during a criminal break-in, they knew I was being set up. The sergeant carefully bagged the evidence and took detailed notes while the younger officer made copies of our footage. They took the footage and said they'd be in touch, giving me their direct numbers and case reference. Stella made bail the next day, $5,000, which she somehow had ready from her trust fund, something she'd never mentioned during our relationship when I was paying for everything. I saw her in the hallway that evening, and she just smiled at me. Not a normal smile. It was cold, calculated, like a predator sizing up prey, like nothing had happened, like she hadn't just tried to get me arrested and potentially ruin my entire life. My hands were shaking again, but I just went inside and locked my door, adding the chain and deadbolt for good measure. That's when she started dating my boss, Brian. Found out through Vincent, who was still convinced I was the bad guy. He told everyone at work that I was harassing Stella so badly that she needed protection, spreading the story during lunch breaks and coffee runs. Brian was this older guy, mid-50s with thinning hair that he tried to hide with expensive haircuts, divorced, always trying to act younger than he was. He wore designer designer jeans to casual Fridays, and referenced memes that were already outdated. Stella probably told him some sob story, and he ate it up, seeing himself as her knight in shining armor. The threatening messages started coming from random numbers. I'd get texts at all hours, 2 a.m., 4 a.m., during important meetings at work. They said things like they knew where I lived, that I'd regret messing with her, that she'd destroy my life piece by piece. Some were more specific, mentioning things about my daily routine that only someone watching me would know. Nice coffee shop you went to this morning. That blue shirt really brings out the fear in your eyes. But every time I tried to trace the numbers, they were already disconnected. Burner phones that she'd use once and toss, probably bought with cash at different stores around the city. My stepmom was basically living at my apartment by then. She'd sleep on my couch with her laptop, obsessing over every piece of footage we had. She'd set up a whole command center on my coffee table, multiple screens, notebooks full of timestamps and observations, a whiteboard where she tracked patterns. She started noticing things I'd missed. The threatening calls always came when Stella was visiting Mrs. Chen, but Stella's phone would be off or at her apartment, according to the location data we could see from social media posts. She'd post pictures from her couch while somehow also leaving me voicemails. Then my stepmom had an idea. She started visiting Mrs. Chen too, bringing her homemade cookies and chatting about their grandkids. Mrs. Chen was lonely. Her family lived across the country, so she welcomed the company. They'd sit in her living room surrounded by photos of grandchildren, sipping tea and talking for hours. My stepmom learned that Mrs. Chen's husband had passed away 2 years ago, that she struggled with the rent sometimes, that Stella had started helping her with groceries. Mrs. Chen mentioned how nice Stella was, always offering to watch her apartment when she went grocery shopping. My stepmom asked if Stella ever used her landline, and Mrs. Chen said yes. She'd asked to make a few private calls because her cell service was bad. Always when Mrs. Chen was out, always closing the bedroom door for privacy. We had Casey set up a recording device on Mrs. Chen's phone, with her permission once we explained everything. Mrs. Chen's face had gone pale when we showed her the evidence, her hands trembling as she held the photos of Stella breaking into my apartment. She was horrified that she'd been used like that, kept apologizing even though we told her it wasn't her fault. The next time Stella visited and Mrs. Chen went shopping, we got everything. Stella calling from the landline, leaving me threatening voicemails and a voice dripping with venom, even calling my workplace to make anonymous complaints about inappropriate behavior and suspected substance use. Vincent finally started to see the truth when Stella slipped up. She was ranting to him about me during lunch at their favorite sandwich shop, saying things that only someone who'd been in my apartment recently would know, like how I'd reorganized my bookshelf by color instead of author, or gotten a new coffee maker, a fancy espresso machine my stepmom had bought me. She mentioned the Van Gogh print I'd hung in my bathroom, the stack of therapy books on my nightstand. Vincent knew I hadn't let her in, so how did she know? He started paying attention and noticed other things that didn't add up. Times when she claimed to be one place but seemed to know about events happening somewhere else. The way she'd smirk when talking about my problems at work, like she knew something he didn't. He came to my apartment one night, looking rough. His usually perfect hair was disheveled, his shirt untucked, dark circles under his eyes like he hadn't slept in days. Said he needed to tell me something. Stella had been using his work computer when they hung out at lunch. She'd joke about sending emails from his account. Harmless pranks, she called them. Just little things to mess with coworkers, she'd say with a laugh. But he'd checked his sent folder and found emails to HR complaining about me. Detailed complaints about my work performance, my attitude, even allegations of theft. Emails he never wrote, sent during times when he was in meetings or out of the office. I told him we needed to document everything. He started forwarding me texts where Stella admitted to accessing his computer. She'd brag about how easy it was to mess with people digitally, how she'd learned from online forums and YouTube tutorials, how she'd learned to forge email headers and fake timestamps from some hacker boyfriend she'd had in college. She thought she was being clever, showing off to her new boyfriend, not realizing she was creating evidence against herself. But then Stella found out Vincent was talking to me. I don't know how. Maybe she was tracking his phone or reading his messages. She had mentioned once knowing about some app that could clone text messages to another device, but she knew, and she decided to destroy him too. Suddenly, money went missing from his department's discretionary fund. Small amounts at first, $50 here, $100 there, then bigger ones. All traced back to Vincent's login credentials, all during times when security footage showed him nowhere near his desk. He got fired on a Thursday. Security escorted him out while everyone watched, the walk of shame past all our coworkers who whispered and stared. They made him pack his desk into a cardboard box while a guard stood over him. Stella was there, playing the supportive girlfriend, rubbing his back and shooting dirty looks at anyone who stared too long. But I saw her smirk when he wasn't looking, just a quick flash of satisfaction before her face returned to fake concern. Vincent came straight to my apartment after, completely broken. He sat on my couch and cried. This guy who'd once been so confident, reduced to nothing by her manipulation. But he'd done something smart before leaving. He'd forwarded every single text and email from Stella to HR and to Brian, creating a paper trail they couldn't ignore. Brian called me into his office the next day. The corner office with the view of downtown, usually his pride pride and joy, felt oppressive that morning. He had printed out everything Vincent had sent, pages and pages of Stella admitting to using company computers, joking about framing people, detailed descriptions of how she'd accessed secure systems. She'd even sent him selfies from his own desk when he was in meetings. His face was pale and he kept apologizing, running his hands through what was left of his hair. He said IT was investigating and they'd already found evidence of unauthorized access from his own computer. Login attempts at strange hours, files accessed that she had no reason to see, emails sent and then deleted from his account. The IT investigation was thorough. They brought in outside consultants, cybersecurity experts who went through our systems with a fine-tooth comb. They found doctored emails with forged headers, all sent from Stella's login when she'd used Brian's computer. She'd been sloppy, probably because she thought she was untouchable. They found fake complaints about me, altered performance reviews where she'd changed ratings and comments, even attempts to access payroll systems to change direct deposit information. One attempt had been partially successful. She'd managed to view salary information for half the company before the system locked her out. Brian fired her immediately and called the police. He gave them access to everything, security footage of her at his computer when he'd stepped out for coffee, server logs showing her unauthorized access patterns, even recordings from his office security camera that showed her going through his files when he stepped out. In one video, she was photographing documents with her phone, personnel files she had no business seeing. The IT team found she'd installed keyloggers on multiple computers, including Vincent's and Brian's, tracking every password and login they used. The police arrested Stella at her apartment. I watched from my doorway as they led her out in handcuffs. She was wearing designer workout clothes, probably about to head to the gym, her hair in a perfect ponytail. She saw me and started screaming that I'd ruined her life, that this was all my fault, her face contorted with rage. Nothing like the sweet persona she'd worn for so long. The officers just kept walking, one of them telling her she had the right to remain silent. Mrs. Chen was in her doorway too, shaking her head sadly, clutching her worn housecoat around her. The trial was quick. With all the evidence we'd collected, her lawyer didn't have much to work with. He tried to argue emotional distress, temporary insanity brought on by a bad breakup, but the prosecutor shut that down fast. Breaking and entering from the apartment footage, evidence tampering from planting those pills, harassment from all the messages and calls, cyber stalking from the work computers, identity theft from using Vincent's credentials, wire fraud from the missing money. The judge gave her 5 years, the maximum for the combination of charges. She'd serve at least 3 with good behavior. My company gave me my job back with a promotion. Brian felt so bad about everything that he fast-tracked me to team lead. The raise was substantial, enough that I could finally afford a better apartment. Vincent got his job back too, with back pay and an apology. The company implemented new security measures because of what happened: 2-factor authentication, regular password changes, restrictions on computer access. They brought in consultants to train everyone on social engineering and how to protect against it. My stepmom's YouTube channel exploded after she posted a series about recognizing manipulation tactics. She never mentioned Stella by name, just talked about general warning signs and how to protect yourself. The videos got millions of views, and companies started asking her to speak at events. She used the money to help pay for my therapy, insisting it was the least she could do after everything I'd been through. I found a new apartment across town. Nothing fancy, just a quiet place where nobody knew my history. Second floor of a small building with good natural light and neighbors who minded their own business. Casey helped me set up a security system, just basic stuff for peace of mind. Motion sensors, window alarms, a doorbell camera positioned at normal height this time. My stepmom still visits, but now it's just for regular family dinners, not crisis management. We cook together and talk about normal things. Her channel, my work, anything but the past. Mrs. Chen sends me cookies sometimes. She feels terrible about being used by Stella and always apologizes when she sees me. I tell her it wasn't her fault. Manipulative people are good at finding kind hearts to exploit. She's more careful now about who she lets into her apartment, installed a chain lock and a peephole at my stepmom's suggestion. Vincent and I are actually friends now. Weird how trauma bonds people. We get beer sometimes at this little pub downtown and talk about work, sports, anything but her. He's dating someone new, a nice woman from accounting who thinks his story about his ex is insane. She's good for him, helps him laugh about things that used to make him angry. My stepmom still films videos, but now I'm just an occasional guest. She's got a whole team and everything. Editors, a social media manager, even a small studio space she rents downtown. Sometimes she'll have me on to organize a closet or demonstrate home security tips. The comments are always positive. Nobody knows I'm the son from her manipulation series, and we keep it that way. Therapy is helping. My therapist says I'm making progress, learning to trust again. We meet every Wednesday in her office with the soft lighting and too many throw pillows. I still flinch when someone moves too fast near me, but it's getting better. I'm even thinking about dating again, maybe in a few months when I feel ready. There's someone at the coffee shop who's been flirting, leaving little notes on my cup. Normal, sweet gestures that don't feel threatening. The restraining order is permanent now. Stella can't come within 500 feet of me, my workplace, or my family. When she gets out, she'll have to register her address address with the court. Part of me worries about what happens then, but my therapist says I can't live in fear of someday. We work on mindfulness exercises, staying present instead of catastrophizing about the future. I learned a lot from this whole mess, like how abuse doesn't always look like what you expect, how manipulation can be subtle until it's not, how important it is to have people who believe you, and how sometimes the person trying to save you might be filming a YouTube video while doing it. I learned about gaslighting and love bombing, terms I'd never heard before, but recognized immediately once explained. My life is quiet now, and I like it that way. No drama, no dead flowers, no mysterious packages going missing, just normal days with normal problems. My biggest worry is usually whether to get pizza or Chinese food for dinner. After everything that happened, boring feels pretty good. I have routines that feel safe. Gym in the morning, work, dinner at home. Weekends are for basketball and catching up on shows. Sometimes I think about that first slap and how I laughed it off. I know better now. I know that love doesn't hurt, that jealousy isn't romantic, that someone who really cares about you doesn't try to control you. These seem like obvious things, but when you're in it, when someone is slowly turning up the heat, you don't notice you're boiling. The frog in the pot, my therapist calls it. I still have the scars from where her nails dug in. They're faded now, but sometimes I catch myself rubbing them when I'm anxious. Physical scars heal faster than the other kind, but I'm working on those too, one day at a time, one therapy session at a time. The nightmares have mostly stopped, though I still sometimes wake up thinking I heard someone at my door. The funny thing is, I still make chicken Alfredo sometimes. It was my favorite before I met her, and I refuse to let her take that from me too. My stepmom taught me her recipe, and it's way better than Stella's ever was. Sometimes I'll make a big batch and bring leftovers to work. Brian always grabs 2 portions and apologizes again for not seeing through her sooner. I tell him it's okay, that she fooled everyone, but I can see he still carries guilt about it. Casey graduated last month and got a job at a tech company downtown. He sent me a message saying thanks for the real-world experience in security systems. His grandma still lives next door to my old apartment. She says the new tenant is quiet and keeps to themselves. Normal neighbor stuff. She also mentioned she installed new locks after everything that happened, just to be safe. My dad called the other day. He'd heard about everything from my stepmom and wanted to check in. We hadn't talked much since he remarried, but he said he was proud of how I handled everything. Said he was sorry he wasn't there to help. I told him stepmom had it covered and he laughed, said that sounded like her. We're planning to have dinner next month, all of us together for the first time in years. Work is good now. The team respects me, and nobody whispers about me in the break room anymore. We actually won a big contract last week, and Brian took everyone out to celebrate. I caught myself actually enjoying it, not looking over my shoulder, not worried about what story someone might be spreading. My performance reviews are stellar, and there's talk of another promotion next year. My new neighbor is this older guy who collects vinyl records. Sometimes I hear jazz through the walls late at night. It's nice. Reminds me that not every sound from a neighbor is a threat. He invited me over for coffee once and showed me his collection. Normal neighbor things that feel like small miracles after everything. We talk about music and his years touring with a band in the 70s. I joined a basketball league at the community center. Nothing serious, just pickup games on weekends. The first time someone accidentally elbowed me, I had to sit out for a minute to calm down. But now I can play without thinking about hospitals and lying to nurses. Progress comes in small steps. The guys on my team have become friends, people who don't know my history and just see me as a decent point guard. My stepmom wants me to speak at one of her events about surviving abuse. I'm not ready for that yet. Maybe someday, but right now, I just want to live my quiet life and heal at my own pace. She understands and doesn't push. She just reminds me that my story might help someone else recognize the signs earlier. For now, I help her answer emails sometimes, anonymous advice to people going through similar situations. The Ring doorbell is still there at my old apartment. The new tenant probably wonders why it's so high-tech. I thought about telling them the story when I moved out, but decided against it. Everyone deserves a fresh start in a new place, without the ghost of someone else's trauma. Though I did leave them a note about being careful with packages. Sometimes I run into people from the building at the grocery store or around town. Most just nod and keep walking, probably embarrassed about believing Stella's lies. A few have apologized, said they should have known better. I don't hold grudges. She was good at what she did. One woman from the 3rd floor told me she'd started recognizing similar behavior in her own relationship after watching everything unfold. She left him last month, she said. Started fresh. I told her I was proud of her, and I meant it. The best part about my new place was the parking garage. Underground, secure, needed a key fob to get in. No more worrying about my car getting keyed at 3 a.m. I just started to feel normal again when I got the letter. Official looking, from the Department of Corrections. Stella was getting out early. Good behavior, overcrowding, some program she'd completed. 3 years instead of 5. My hands shook as I read it. The letter said she'd served her time and paid her debt to society. What a joke. I called my stepmom immediately. She came over with her laptop and we started planning. First thing was upgrading security at my new place. Casey helped install better cameras, ones that uploaded to multiple cloud servers. We put them everywhere, even got permission from the building manager to add some in the common areas. He remembered the news stories about my case and was super understanding. Said he didn't want any drama in his building. 2 weeks after I got the letter, matter, she was out. I found out because Vincent texted me. His new girlfriend had seen Stella at the grocery store near our old neighborhood. She was with some new guy, laughing and holding his hand like nothing had happened. Vincent said she looked different, thinner, hair dyed black, but definitely her. His girlfriend had ducked into another aisle to avoid her. I started changing my routines, different gym times, new coffee shop, alternative routes to work. My therapist said it was natural to feel anxious, but I shouldn't let fear control my life. Easy for her to say. She hadn't been pushed off a balcony, but I tried to find a balance between caution and paranoia. Some days were better than others. Then weird things started happening at work. My key card would randomly stop working. IT said it was a glitch, but it only happened to me. Emails I sent would bounce back hours later with error messages. Important files would disappear from my computer, then reappear in wrong folders. Brian noticed and had IT do a full security sweep. They found nothing but gave me a new laptop just in case. My stepmom was basically in full detective mode. She'd mapped out all of Stella's known associates, tracking social media for any sign of her. She found the new boyfriend pretty quick. Some guy named Kevin who worked at a phone repair shop. That explained a lot. He probably knew all sorts of tricks for hacking and tracking. My stepmom started visiting his shop pretending to have phone problems, documenting everything. One night I came home to find my apartment door slightly open, just a crack, but I never leave it unlocked. I called the police from the hallway and waited. They searched the place but found nothing missing or disturbed. The lock wasn't broken, no signs of forced entry, but I knew someone had been there. The super changed my locks that night and added an extra deadbolt. Vincent called me the next day. Someone had been calling his new job asking about him, pretending to be from a background check company, asking about his termination from our company. His new boss was getting suspicious. We both knew who was behind it, but proving it was another thing. Stella had learned from her mistakes. No more direct contact, no more sloppy digital trails. My stepmom's surveillance of Kevin paid off. She caught him on camera meeting with Stella at a park. They sat on a bench for maybe 20 minutes, him showing her something on a laptop. My stepmom couldn't get close enough to see what, but she got clear photos of both of them. We finally had proof she was violating the restraining order by orchestrating contact through third parties. I took everything to the police. The detective assigned to my case, Detective Rodriguez, was the same one from before. She remembered everything and took it seriously. Said they'd been monitoring Stella since her release anyway. Apparently, I wasn't her only victim with a restraining order. There were two other guys, both with similar stories. She'd dated them before me. Detective Rodriguez arranged a meeting with the other guys. We met at the police station, all of us looking uncomfortable. One was named Alan, worked in IT, dated her 5 years ago. The other was Ryan, a teacher, dated her right before me. Their stories were eerily similar. The escalation, the false accusations, the cyberstalking. Alan said she'd gotten him fired from 2 jobs before he finally got the restraining order. Ryan had to move cities to get away from her. We started a group chat, sharing information and warning signs. Alan was really good with the technical stuff, helped us all secure our digital lives better. Ryan knew about legal resources, had been through the court system multiple times with her. It felt weird, but also relieving to know I wasn't alone. We weren't friends exactly, but we understood each other in a way nobody else could. Kevin made a mistake. He tried to hack my work computer remotely, but triggered the new security system IT had installed. They traced it back to his IP address at the phone shop. When police showed up with a warrant, they found evidence of him cyber-stalking all 3 of us. Screenshots of our social media, copies of our work schedules, even floor plans of our apartment buildings. He folded immediately, admitted Stella had hired him to make our lives miserable. The police arrested Stella at her job. She'd gotten work at a marketing firm, probably lied on her application about her criminal record. They let her out in handcuffs again, but this time she didn't scream or make a scene, just stared at the ground as they put her in the car. Kevin got arrested too, charged with cyber-stalking and harassment. His shop got shut down after they found evidence he'd been installing spyware on customer phones. This time, the prosecutor went harder. Multiple restraining order violations, conspiracy to commit harassment, stalking multiple victims. Plus, she was on parole, which she'd violated big time. The judge wasn't sympathetic to her tears this time. 10 years, no early release, and she'd have to register as a stalker when she got out. It was the maximum sentence possible. Alan, Ryan, and I went for beers after the sentencing. We didn't celebrate exactly, just sat there processing. Alan mentioned he'd started dating again finally. Ryan was engaged, showed us pictures of his fiancée. They looked happy. I told them about the coffee shop girl who'd been leaving notes. They encouraged me to ask her out, said it was time to move forward. I did ask her out. Her name was Dorothy, and she was nothing like Stella. Calm, where Stella was intense. Secure, where Stella was jealous. Our first date was just coffee, middle of the day, very public. I was upfront about my past, gave her the short version. She listened without judgment, asked if I was in therapy. When I said yes, she just nodded and changed the subject to movies. My stepmom's channel hit 10 million subscribers. She used some of the money to start a foundation helping abuse victims get security systems. She never mentions my story directly, but sometimes I recognize elements in her videos. Tips that came from our experience, warning signs we learned the hard way. She's helped thousands of people, gets emails every day from survivors who say her videos saved them. Brian retired early and recommended me for his position. I didn't get it, wasn't ready for for that level yet, but they made me department manager. The interview committee said they were impressed by how I'd handled adversity. I almost laughed at the understatement. Vincent works in my department now. We never talk about Stella, just focus on doing good work and supporting our team. Mrs. Chen passed away last winter, peaceful, in her sleep. Casey spoke at her funeral about how she'd helped catch a criminal by being brave enough to let them monitor her phone. Her other grandkids had no idea what he was talking about. He told the story, and they were amazed, said it sounded like something from a movie. I sat in the back row, remembering her cookies and apologies. Dorothy and I have been together 6 months now. She's met my stepmom, even been in a few videos about meal prep. My dad likes her too, says she's good for me. We take things slow, no rushing, lots of communication. When I flinch at sudden movements, she doesn't take it personally. When I need to check the locks twice before bed, she waits patiently. She's teaching me that healthy relationships exist. Casey started a security consulting company with the money he saved from his tech job. He hired Alan as his first employee. They specialize in helping stalking victims secure their digital lives, affordable rates, payment plans, sometimes pro bono for people who can't pay. They've helped dozens of people already. Casey says it's more fulfilling than his corporate job ever was. I still go to therapy every other week now instead of weekly. Progress. We've moved from crisis management to actual healing, talking about boundaries, trust, recognizing red flags early. My therapist says I'm her success story, but I don't feel successful, just surviving, one day at a time. She says that's enough, that surviving is its own kind of success. The coffee shop where Dorothy works has become my safe space. The owner knows my story, keeps an eye out for anyone suspicious. The regulars know me now, include me in their morning conversations about sports and weather. Normal human connections that feel extraordinary after everything. Dorothy makes my coffee exactly how I like it without me having to ask. Ryan got married last month. Alan and I went to the wedding. His bride was beautiful, radiant in a way that showed she felt safe and loved. During the reception, Ryan pulled us aside and thanked us, said our group chat had kept him sane during the trial. We toasted with champagne to surviving, to moving forward, to the women who'd tried to break us and failed. My new apartment feels like home now. I've hung pictures, bought furniture, made it mine. The security system is still there, but I don't check it obsessively anymore. Weeks go by where I forget about it entirely. Dorothy stays over sometimes and we cook dinner together. She's teaching me Thai recipes from her grandmother. The normalcy of it still surprises me. Work is stable, even boring sometimes, and I'm grateful for boring. My team respects me, my boss trusts me, and nobody whispers about my past anymore. New employees don't even know the story. I'm just the manager who brings good coffee and remembers birthdays. Sometimes Brian stops by to check in, but it's friendly now, not guilt-driven. I sleep through the night most nights. The nightmares are rare, usually triggered by stress at work or seeing someone who looks like her from behind. My therapist gave me techniques to manage them. Breathing exercises, grounding techniques, reminders that I'm safe now. They mostly work. Dorothy knows to give me space when I wake up panicked, wait for me to come back to myself. The restraining order is permanent, will follow her even after prison. She'll have to register her address forever, stay away from all three of us. Sometimes I wonder what she's doing in there, if she's planning her next move or finally getting help. Then I remind myself it's not my problem anymore. She made her choices. I'm making mine. My stepmom and I have regular dinners now, just family stuff. We cook together and talk about her channel, my work, Dorothy, anything but the past. Sometimes she'll mention a video idea that sounds familiar, and we'll share a knowing look, but mostly we've moved on, found new things to talk about. She's proud of me, says it often. I'm starting to believe her. The scars have faded to thin white lines. Dorothy asked about them once, and I told her. She kissed each one and said they showed how strong I was. I didn't feel strong in the moment, but I'm learning to see it her way. Survival takes strength, even when it doesn't feel like it. Getting up each day and choosing to trust again takes courage. Vincent got promoted last month. He's good at his job, deserved it regardless of everything else. We celebrated with the team, normal workplace stuff. His girlfriend is pregnant now, due in spring. They're happy, building a life together. Sometimes I catch him checking door locks twice or startling at unexpected noises. We don't talk about it, but we both know why. I'm thinking about proposing to Dorothy. Nothing fancy, just something simple and real. My stepmom helped me pick out a ring, something Dorothy mentioned liking months ago. I carry it around, waiting for the right moment. No pressure, no timeline, just when it feels right. She makes me feel safe in a way I didn't think was possible anymore. That's worth everything. Life is quiet now, and I've learned to appreciate quiet. My biggest problems are normal ones like car repairs and tax forms. I can go weeks without thinking about Stella, months without checking if she's tried to contact anyone. The fear is still there, probably always will be, but it doesn't control me anymore. I control it, keep it in a small box that I only open in therapy. Alan met someone through a hiking group. He's cautiously optimistic, says she's nothing like Stella. We joke that we should start a support group for people dating after psycho exes. But really, we're all just trying to move forward and trust that not everyone is out to hurt us. Some people are actually just kind. It's a hard lesson to relearn, but we're trying. My stepmom is writing a book about recognizing manipulation. Publishers are interested, offering good money. She wants to donate half to victim services. The other half she's saving for what she calls her retirement adventure venture fund. She showed me the outline and it's good, really helpful without being preachy. I told her I was proud of her. We've come full circle. The YouTube channel is run by a team now. My stepmom still hosts, but she's got editors, writers, a whole production crew. They film in a studio instead of my apartment. Sometimes I miss those early days when it was just us and a camera, but I'm glad she's successful. She deserves it after everything. Plus it means she only visits when she wants to, not because she's worried about me. I play basketball every Saturday morning. Same guys, same court, same terrible jokes. It's become my meditation, a place where I don't think about anything but the game. My body doesn't flinch anymore when someone comes at me for a block. I can take physical contact without panicking. Small victories that mean everything. The guys have become real friends, people I'd trust with my story if I ever wanted to share it. Next month marks 4 years since that first slap. I'll probably spend it like any other day. Work, dinner with Dorothy, maybe a movie, no big anniversary marking, no dwelling on the past, just another day in my quiet, normal life. The life I built after everything fell apart. The life she tried to take from me but couldn't. I won. Not in some dramatic way, just by surviving and thriving and refusing to let her define my future. Dorothy wants to get a dog, something small that her landlord will allow. We've been looking at rescue sites together, reading about different breeds. It feels like a big step, sharing responsibility for another living thing, but I'm ready for it. Ready for normal relationship milestones that have nothing to do with security cameras or restraining orders. Just two people building a life together, one small decision at a time. Tomorrow, I'm helping Casey with a security install for a new client, another survivor trying to feel safe again. I don't usually go on jobs with him, but this client specifically asked for someone who'd been through it. Someone who understood the fear, the hypervigilance, the need to check locks multiple times. I said yes, because I remember how alone I felt. Maybe my presence will help them feel less alone too. But tonight, I'm cooking dinner for Dorothy. Thai green curry from her grandmother's recipe. I've finally gotten the spice level right after months of trying. She'll come over after work, tired but smiling. We'll eat together at my small dining table, talking about our days, normal couple stuff. She'll help with dishes and we'll watch something stupid on TV. Maybe she'll stay over, maybe not. No pressure either way. Just two people choosing each other, one day at a time. And that's enough. More than enough. It's everything.